The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the New Media Factory. Some programs on this network might include strong images and language and may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of the theBobberyCast. Today with us here at New Media Factory, who hosts the show, we have Kahlil Corazo.
Hi everyone.
Hi Kahlil, welcome on the show.
Yeah,
welcome
thanks for having
here
me. Yes.
Welcome at Beyond the Box, the
Thanks.
number one Apple store where we can be every week.
That's right.
Mind introducing yourself to those who don't know you?
Yeah, I'm Kahlil Corazo. I flew all the way from Cebu just to be because of I was invited by Frankie. Now I have a business, but on the side I teach, and that's what we're gonna talk about here. I've been trying to learn customer development. That's actually why I'm in Barong. This is my customer development costume. Meeting customers, and they expect someone who looks like a salesman. So I'm here with this. And we're gonna talk about that. Education. How to learn customer development, lean startup, and all those things.
So do you teach all your students that if they need to pitch, they need to pitch in Barong?
No. You pitch because you pitch. The investors are expecting you're in a startup attire like this one. Jeans and t-shirts.
I'm not in startup attire. I actually wear long jeans.
Okay, incomplete. But when you're talking to customers, especially if you're doing B2B or enterprise, you have to dress up as they expect. And that's sort of my market. So I learn how to meet expectations. By short sleeve barong and have a clean haircut. And, yeah.
You teach
Yes.
what topics?
Yes. I actually was sort of I forced myself to teaching because I realized that I needed to learn how to start a business, especially a startup. So in my first attempt, I sort of worked in the corporate world for like 5 years, and I sort of thought I knew shit, but it turns out it's a totally different game. So after my first failure, so I thought, there must be some craft towards this, and that's where I started learning about customer development, lean startup, business model design, and then I had the opportunity to start a course in UANP, and I thought, maybe the best way to learn this is to teach it. And during the time, Steve Blank, who is like the godfather of this lean startup movement, so he also, created a course in Stanford, UC Berkeley, and Columbia U to teach customer development and business model design to graduate students. So I thought, I'll just copy his curriculum, run it to in the local scene, and this might be even better than attending his course there in the U.S. It's super expensive. So, that's how I started. It's
That was last year?
Last year, second sem last year, which was like around July.
Yeah.
Sorry, July, yeah.
You also had local mentors here in Manila?
Yeah, that's the critical thing. Because a skill like running a business or doing a startup is a very practical skill. It's the old way of teacher standing in front and lecturing just doesn't work there. And also, if I were to do that, it's like to act as both the teacher or the orchestrator of the learning as well as the expert. I couldn't dare to do that. It was just like 2 years of entrepreneurial experience. So, but with this, of course, you sort of decouple the orchestrating the learning with the mentoring. So I got mentors like Christian Bessler, Jonathan Zangan, Mike, Fatripid, and also because when we started with those guys, and then but most of my students were girls, and they wanted to do like very female-centric businesses. So we also got Anna Kobe of Shufore, and then Danela Yaptinchai of Colab. So they were both like the inspirations of this mostly female students, as well as like they know the business of like it was a discovery for us. All these things about makeup. There's one group did a makeup business.
Before you started teaching, you said you worked in corporate. You had 5 years corporate, and you ran your own startup before teaching Lean. And you realized that when you run your startup, you're out there. It's a real life situation. The model of I've read books, what those inspiring people told me may not always work. Now I'm out here, and then came Steve Blank, Dole Lean course, Eric Ries. And was that something where you thought when you first read those things, the post, the Lean canvas, where you thought like, yes, this is a lot more real life? If I had had this some years ago when I want a startup mode myself, if I had known this, the chance on failure would have been smaller, because Lean is a deontology, the Lean startup. And do you think university, academia, like even seminars within corporate world still prepare the people for how modern society works? Today you're in, tomorrow you are bypassed by, you may not have done something wrong, but something new comes. Life and business economy is so much faster.
Yeah, well, I think maybe you could just take a step back, and because my first realization was that, okay, I did this beautiful business plan, with studies from Gartner and all those things, and what my main realization was, this is something different. Like the business plan is a tool for coming up with a business which is based on a business model which is already known. You start a restaurant, a bank, a real estate development company. You know how it works. The game is just about playing it better. Yeah. So, but a startup is something different. Yeah. That's the main realization there. You are doing something new that has not been done before. Maybe not done before in this context of Philippines, or never been done before at all. And when you make a business plan for that kind of business, you are just deluding yourself. It's just a work of fiction. So the business plan is about executing a known business, while if you want to start a business which has not yet been proven to work, so it's all about search. So first of all looking for product market fit, and then looking for a scalable way to get customers, and looking for a scalable way to deliver your product or service. And that's where it stems from. The education stems from there. So business plan, great. It works for, if you're gonna do a traditional business, it works great. But I think the education also has to adapt to the thing that is being taught. So in this case, it's the thing that's being taught is how do you search for how do you validate this new business you're thinking about that has not yet been proven in the past. No one has been doing it. So and so what, like, I almost forgot. Could I
yeah, of course.
Yeah. So that's actually why I'm here. So this is a course, a hands-on course on customer development that we're trying to come up. We're planning this September with Kickstart and also in Cebu. So anyway, just visit the website and contact me if you're interested. So we're just
swnext.co.
Yeah. So anyway, so like this course, it's so what do you need? What do you need to teach that? So first of all, it has to be hands-on. I think it's like a lot like learning how to swim. You don't, you may know the mechanics of swimming just by reading a book. And just like, okay, I know how the mechanics of, startup or doing a startup just by reading a book. But you'll never really learn it. You'll never really learn how to swim, to move through water, unless you, get in the pool. So that's what we're trying to provide. Lean Launchpad, which is like the course that Steve Blank did, which we tried to copy here, and SW Next, which is based on that course. So it's all about giving startups that training pool where they could, test out customer development. They'll go out there, talk to customers, get punched in the face with reality, change their ideas based on facts, not on your imagination. So I think that's the change that I think could happen. That we adapt to this new situation. And now, because I think the main audience here are developers and people in startups. Any product, if you're gonna make a business of any product, it's gonna be a startup because it's something new. Even if you're copying, you're cloning a US website, it's in a new market.
Yeah.
You couldn't make a business plan based on your this is an innovation, but you don't know whether people will actually want this. How do we actually get a reliable way to get customers for this? And if it's a product, perhaps the scalability issues as well, technical scalability, there's something you have to think about. So those three things: product market fit, scaling customers, and scaling the delivery.
Now, how can we? Because I assume when you did that last year, that I think it was a 6 weeks program.
No, the original one was 10 weeks.
Or 10 weeks.
So, but we stretched it out to 1 semester because you're limited. There's another thing with education. Whatever you're teaching, if you're in the system of the university, you have to teach it for 1 semester. That's your limitation there.
Yeah.
But sometimes, this like SW Next, it's only 3 weeks. And you don't need to delay the learning. If you could learn it in 3 weeks, why stretch it to a semester? But it's like there are also advantages in having that regular schedule.
But how did that work? Because for example, here if we talk online startups, the academia, the university, the system itself is actually rather slow.
Yeah.
And then if you want to bring in a principle like lean startup, it is very much, I tend to call them the council of elders, who have to approve the curriculum.
Yeah.
If more than X% of changes are made or a new course, they have to approve that. Most of the time it's even not in their domain, you have to convince them and everything. And basically you are going to try to convince them, hey guys, I got a new model here. This model, I am not going to say that it works for everything, but basically the chances of succeeding for smaller programs, you couldn't design the next Tesla in Lean. Or you couldn't disrupt telephony in Lean. But basically I'm improving the chances because we are not going to build just our ID. We are constantly going to validate from the user. Iterate often, fail quickly, learn, adapt. And very often then, of course, you may have mini pivots along the way, and I think that's revolutionary for the university principle, especially if if it's Stanford, if it's Berkeley, they are in the middle. They co-created Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
They are a pillar, so they will be a lot more agile in it. And how do we get that into the academia?
Well, I was I don't know, in UNP where I teach or where I taught, and I moved to Cebu, so um, I was pretty much I was free to create the course, but because the people there sort of trusted me, so but I know that that's not the case for many universities. Um, so I don't know. It's because also I mean you have to think about the university is a very old institution,
Yeah.
and it's sort of designed to last for you know forever or something. Um, I just sort of I mean the way I did it was like to do it as a elective. That's the most this is the best solution I found. Yeah, but existing entrepreneurship courses, especially um, in technology related courses, will benefit a lot from this way of teaching entrepreneurship.
But basically, some weeks ago, with some guys, we were invited, and we almost walked into a course, and they were actually teaching BlackBerry 6,
Yeah, it's
and then that is the future of IT.
yeah, it's like right now I don't I'm not sure if institutionally this could be you could move this fast in the right direction. So I think it's really individual teachers who have to look out there and adopt uh, new things to their classroom. For instance, um, teachers have been lecturing for like centuries. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that is in the context of like centuries ago, when the only way to transmit data from books to the student is like for you to read them and for you to make a lecture. But now, we have machines to do that, and we have the greatest minds in the world.
We're trying to optimize how we click on ads. Oh no, sorry, Facebook, I don't want to offend you.
No, but the greatest minds in the world and the greatest universities, they are doing this for free. They are lecturing. So rather than me, I was realizing, okay, I'm looking at this lecture, and I will transmit this to my student. Why don't I just give this lecture to them, and spend my time coaching them, in smaller groups. So in the U.S. they call this the flipped classroom. So this is like one innovation which we could do now easily, because like I think all my students had their own computers. So it's like my role was now like to orchestrate the learning, telling them, okay, to curate the content. Okay, you look at this, and then let's spend time hands-on on the actual skill, rather than me talking at you about like trying to be an expert. You listen to the real expert. If you don't understand, you rewind it, you research in Wikipedia or whatever, and when we meet, it's about using those skills. And my role will be really as like the orchestrator of their experiences, rather than a guy who sits in front and, try to sound smart, So that's one way we could teach now, So it's really, I think,
it's happening.
Yeah.
You have also been playing with it already, with the idea of online classrooms.
Yeah.
Right now, I think the explosion is really happening with Coursera, Khan Academy.
Udacity, edX.
Yeah, then we have the platforms like, which was in Cebu as well, last startup weekend, called Toki.
Yes.
We have
Toki.
Ryan Carson of Think Vitamin, who is building a new platform for web designers and developers.
Yeah.
It's moving everywhere, but I still have an issue with the academia, and indeed with what you say, in the way of, you have this guy standing in front, and so often I see younger guys coming out, graduate, and then suddenly they have their college degree and they think they know everything, and they do not stop, they do not care about learning anymore.
Well,
But if you want to do a startup, like you have to be hungry, you have to constantly want to learn, improve, because suddenly, let's say your startup succeeds and you scale, but your code base doesn't scale.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, my experience was like, this is all about learning. You don't know what you're gonna face. I never thought I'll be doing, salesy stuff. I don't have sales background. It takes me like 2 days to psych up myself to do cold calls. But it's like, how bad do you want it? Do you want it bad enough to wear a barong, and go around Manila, the whole day?
There is worse than wearing barong. Like you don't need to wear a 3-piece suit at least.
Yeah, but it's like, it's ironic. The first guy who was wearing a barong here, it's like wearing a barong is sort of illegal in Cebu. Only lawyers are allowed to wear barongs there. Nah, joking. It's like, very few people wear this there. Anyhow, but it's like, you have to learn. You have to adapt. It's all about, at least my experience. It's the fastest guy. The fastest guy to learn is the guy who will win. I think that's it. And it's if you don't like learning new things, this life isn't for you. Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, it's about hunger.
Yeah.
Hunger for knowledge, like old school, like I'm going to use the term nerds. Knowledge sponges, constant, never satisfied by knowledge and by wanting to improve. That old style, like, and that is important because if your startup succeeds, your code base doesn't scale, you have to rewrite. For example, if we take Twitter, they started on Rails, but Rails back then wasn't as solid as now, and it just didn't work. It was fail whale all the time. And at some point they rewrote, they switched, and now it is so stable. But then online we have an issue. We have the smartest people online in this culture who are trying to think, how can we convince people to click ads?
Well,
I mean, we have 3D printers, and like the whole economy is about how do Facebook and Twitter monetize.
No, I mean it's still a part of as long as you're not doing evil, you're contributing to something in the world, whether it's spamming people or no, it's like it's like Facebook. It wouldn't work if the ad part is not working. Google would not be there if there are no advertisers. So it's it's a whole ecosystem, and it takes some people will dedicate their brain space to making that part be better. How do we get the best returns for advertisers, and a lot of other people will do other things. So I don't think it's gonna be an issue. There's like 7 billion people in the world. Some will do very interesting things for them. Some also do other interesting things for them as well. Maybe that could be optimizing ads, or that could be creating the next something with 3D printing, or whatever is something that will change the world. Yeah.
One of the cool things and a pet peeve of mine is with Startup Weekend. It is hands-on. Your experience with your course over the semester was also all about hands-on. Now, SW next. How can we improve? There are so many hackathons, developer events. How can we help developers get the mindset that, hey, I've worked at this for 3 days or 3 weeks. Why not finish it? I know that like Startup Weekend, it's 1 out of 3 usually who end up with an actual website, business. Here in the Philippines, we are far off. I think over the startup weekends we have seen 70 projects, and I think that is where SW Next
Yeah, exactly.
comes in.
It seems to be the same question all over the world, all the startup weekends all over the world. Like, we did a startup weekend, we enjoyed, we met new people, and we sort of experienced how it is to be in a startup. But so what's next?
Yeah.
So it's swnext.co. So that's it. That's what's next. So I think that is the gap. It's like from doing startup weekend, and then here is like being in an incubator. So in between, those people who would want to do a startup, but perhaps don't have the traction yet to qualify for an incubator or don't have experience yet. So it's giving them this experience, this hands-on experience, and like about finishing your project or scaling it. I think this would sort of help you as well, because once you've seen that that reaction from customers, one day it's like when their eyes twinkle with the vision that you're telling them, and that is what will spur you to finish or create something which is real. And it's not only like that emotional thing, it's actually a very real thing, because they will actually pay you to do it. If you find that product market fit, it's not gonna be too difficult to at least get some initial financial support. So yeah.
So sometimes I would also like to see, like if you've got an idea which you've worked on. Ken, I'm looking at you with beer spots, and the idea sounds cool. Like just make it happen. I mean, the internet is a brilliant location. We have all the tech blogs and everything. The internet has viral potential, and like this week last week, one of the app of the week was an app which would tweet as if people had gone to a party.
Okay.
And it was basically for couch potatoes. Business model 0. Market fit, well, there is a market fit. The fear of missing out. Was the market fit there? But at the end of the day, it was a fun project some guys threw together in some days, and do it. It doesn't always, you have hosting, $60 a year. You have worked at something for like 3 days. You may not have won startup weekend, you may not have won the hackathon, but once you have done it, then you can see how people react as well. And it's just a website, but it's your first experience trying to promote things already. Because we can do the whole lean course, the canvas and everything, but we must not always focus on being too serious. Like one of the projects here in the Philippines I like most is Tag Huddle.
Yeah. That's,
And if you think about it, Nico may have a concept, he may have a business idea and everything, but at the end of the day he built it and it's a cool site, and those who use it, they are cool. Like, it is a way, it will most of the time not work, but it's an experience. And then if you can get a user acquisition growth, then of course pitching becomes better, but try it. The hackathon finishes Sunday evening, your project doesn't have to. And I think that is also, the academia are wrong there. They don't bring that fun.
Yeah, it's like, but it's like, what?
They should not teach fun, but
Yeah, I know. It's like
in IT, you can have fun, and there are so many stories. Facebook, it was hot or not.
Exactly. It's like, but I see it in my students as well. Like, how do you actually make a person passionate? But I don't know the answer to that. They're just simply people who enjoy, like for instance, creating products, for instance, or maybe doing art, writing poetry, or whatever. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. How do you make people so passionate that they'll do it? Do it for no reason at all, for no financial reason or whatever.
No, but I would think like especially the crowd who go to startup weekend. Okay, startup weekend is an experience, but those who go to hackathons and everything, like they already spent their free time. I am a big fan of hackathons. It improves the code quality, it improves the culture and everything. But like, if you start with an idea, why not try to take the next step and make it happen? And then you can see the reaction. It will, and then you have invested time in what was your original idea, and then you may try to pitch it, because it takes 15 ideas to have a good idea on average.
Yeah, it's like, again, it boils down to like, do you really want it? It's like, and it's also it's like putting fuel on that idea is really about, it's the, making it, showing it to customers. That's it. It's I think that's how you could, maybe the only systematic way to make people progress from just dabbling or something to actually finishing it and making a real product. It's really that fuel of meeting customers, seeing customers. So I think that's the only the thing I could think of, outside of people who are innately passionate about the specific thing that whatever happens they will complete the product.
Like let's take for example Twitter. Twitter was an internal office solution.
Okay.
Twitter was because group SMS didn't exist at that time in the US, and basically they realized someone of the team, there was Podio, the podcast service F. Williams started after he sold Blogger to Google.
Okay.
He started Podio, and someone of the team went to Starbucks and had forgotten to ask the other people, do you want coffee? So basically it was an internal platform using SMS gateway. And now we have the fastest news sharing platform in the world. Initially it started just with, because you would get Twitter replies on your phone via SMS. Initially it was just like, hey Kahlil, I went out, sorry I forgot to ask you, but do you want coffee? And at the same time it was on a website, so it went out to everyone in the team. That was how Twitter started.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
Like had they thought back then, we need a business model, we need a user validation, it would not have happened.
Yeah, that's what you mean. Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of things will. I mean, especially for people who create products, developers especially. I don't. It's you have to have that. You have to enjoy the making itself. Yeah. I'm more of a business guy, and I enjoy the making of the business itself. Like even though it's very convenient for me to come here to Manila and go around the city, have a good time in traffic. This is what I do. And for my developer friends who some of them think like it's poetry, so that's your edge, that you enjoy the building itself,
It's about finding and creating opportunities. Sometimes you even don't realize it is there. The guys at Twitter didn't know.
Yeah, but again, it's this situation we're in. It's all about finding something which the market wants and which is scale. And I suppose if you just keep on trying and building, But Twitter is like I don't know if it happened here in the Philippines.
That is just one example. Apparently, Plurk is still big in the Philippines.
Plurk and Multiply and Friendster, they all became big in the Philippines. So I don't know. It's
And Plurk got investment some weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they raised funding.
From where? Where are they based? Taiwanese or something?
I saw Plurk funding and I stopped
yeah?
there. I don't like to scroll horizontally too much.
So yeah, I mean it's like, if you build things, you have to love building things, whether it's products, organizations, businesses,
What do you think are cool niches that are open up for disruption, where customer market fit user? There is a big opportunity.
I think it's from the perspective. I mean, if speaking as someone who wanted to start a business, I think it's more of like, what are you passionate about? Because now there's so many things happening, so many things are changing.
Yeah.
That wherever you go, there's probably gonna be some disruption. Whether it's like how people buy clothes, it's like it's been like 10 years since e-commerce. It hasn't really flown here.
It's picking up.
It's picking up, but credit card penetration is still at 3%. Even though like they're like maybe now 50% of Filipinos are online, but SM is still big and all these retailers are still big. So, but the first guy to crack e-commerce here will be a billionaire. Yeah?
I think e-commerce is actually being cracked as we speak at it.
Mm-hmm.
The scale is not there yet, but people know I'm a fan of how Rocket Internet executes. Mm-hmm. And like in the Philippines, you need to find the mix, and Rocket have money.
Mm-hmm.
What can Rocket do? They can get that billboard on EDSA. Mm-hmm. As soon as you have that billboard on EDSA in the Philippines, it's credibility. The people think you're big, they have the money, you can run TVCs. Sulit has gone really big in TVCs and radio ads in recent times.
Yeah.
So the people are starting to match both markets, because I think last numbers about the Philippines were 34 million people online, mm-hmm. and 36 million Facebook accounts.
Now it's like 30 million 2 years ago, so I don't think it's, it must be like 40 or 50 now, man. 2010, 30 million. And Facebook now, like 30 million as well.
I'm thinking when was the last time that data was released, but that was Nielsen August 2011, the mm-hmm. public data was given out. Mm-hmm.
But so whatever, it's like, this is one example that, that's still an open, this is still an opportunity. What else could be, I mean, the way, the way real estate is sold, the way, you reach your customers if you're a small business, the way, you build things online, there are so many things which are changing. And those are opportunities for people who like doing this kind of thing, Yeah. And doing something new, or like one of my students or student groups did there's an old need, which is for people to eat, and people to enjoy time talking. The old solution was, of course, a restaurant. I don't know if there's a new solution to that, but for instance, they wanted to try out the food truck. Food trucks here have actually tried it in the 90s, and they evolved into like this permanent stalls in Makati. I don't know if your customers could contact you via online, so that didn't exist in the 90s. And it's happening in other places in the world. So I don't know if it'll work here, but the way to figure that out without spending as much money as in the 90s, Yeah.
I find that interesting that you mentioned that because yes, in recent months, especially in Manila, we have seen an increase of food trucks, but at the end of the day, they are static.
Mhm.
And I really I'm waiting for it to happen. I can see the struggle, but I'm waiting for mobile food trucks who just tell via Twitter in 10 minutes, I'm in Eastwood.
Yeah, it's somebody has got to figure that out, you know. If
And the main issue would be between us, it's the Philippines, you will have to pay something to the parking guard.
parking, these are the issues that my students found: parking, and then there are some health certificates that you have to get, and then what happened in the 90s. It turned out was the food trucks would be vying for space, and there was
Yeah.
too much competition, and so the government decided, okay, we'll just just give the space to you for you exclusively, and you stay there. So I don't know if it's doable, but the only way to find out
Do
is
it.
do it or prototype it. That's really the core of customer development, being startup. It's like you create what they call minimum viable product. It's really just a prototype to learn whether this business will work. Make a small version of it. It's like a beta test for the business to see if your assumptions are correct. You make a prototype to see whether people will actually buy it. Actually, the basic thing is I have this. Will you buy it? Give me money.
There is actually someone who has done something similar, but then grew faster and left the initial user base, customer base behind.
Mhm.
And I think that they were named, there are probably more, but I know of the example of Almost Gourmet.
Mhm.
And that was basically, you order some days in advance of a select menu. For every day they would have 3 or 4 meals. You would order in advance and they would deliver to your office for between 130 or 150 pesos, and then you just had to microwave it. The meals were better than food court quality.
Mhm.
And it's an approach, and it was just a bike driver who came out.
Yeah, it's
And they grew big enough to say, you guys who made us big,
mhm.
who made this happen, who made this a success story, thank you for that. Now we are only going to do party packs anymore. Bigger trays.
Yeah, it's but sometimes sometimes when doing something you discover a more attractive business. It depends on your goals. I mean, it's like catering seems is for them maybe a better business, less logistics perhaps, and bigger returns per transaction. So depends on what you want in life, man.
I know what I want. I've always been thinking about that, and I think having come to the Philippines, I'm getting closer to it.
Which is revealed here in
Yeah, I'm going to reveal it
Wow.
because I'm pretty sure that many people will say that is brilliant if that can happen.
Cool.
I've always wanted coffee out of the wall.
Cool, man. It's like
I mean, now we are moving to 3D printers,
Yeah.
and I just want to tap in my wall where the coffee comes out.
yeah, that would be interesting. Wherever you are.
Wherever I am, mobile coffee, I'll be happy already if it's just wherever I sit at home and work. But
Yeah.
I've always thought that would be disruption.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, Nestle.
You'll kill Starbucks and Nestle in one go. Yeah.
That's okay, I don't care about it. They're the dinosaurs already.
Yeah. So why don't you do it, man? If you're so
I
passionate
think-
about it. Yeah.
I think I'm coming closer to it. I just had this light bulb moment. Hey, I can just already start with a canister, fill it up with 3-in-1 powder
yeah.
at a hot tub. But there's no business model because everyone will copy it.
It's happening actually in Cebu in rural areas. It's not coffee, but it's very interesting. Before, water used to be dispensed in sari-sari stores using plastics, and they would freeze it. Now, I don't know who invented it. I would like to talk to this guy. It's like a dispenser, and you put a tub of purified water there, people put in coins and they get watered. It's like you use less plastic, better for the environment. And you don't need you just leave it there. It's making money. It's in many areas. And also, I think it's also here. That's
I noticed that when I arrived here, like, if there is an issue, someone will come up with a money-making solution.
Yeah, it's a way of exchanging services for goods. This is a capitalistic society.
But one of the things I had never seen before I arrived in the Philippines was charging stations for mobile phones at 7-Eleven.
Yeah, man, it's like because when I moved to Cebu, I was for old time's sake, I took the boat, and there was this charging station there, and people would just be there in front of the charging station, and they're just looking at their phones, for like 30 minutes. It's like, well, it's a service,
Yeah.
It's a service. It would cost you like a few pesos. This is great, Those small inventions are pretty interesting to me, at least.
Kahlil, tips, because we're almost running out of time. Some tips for students who are entering IT, who have not decided yet what they want to do in life.
Mm-hmm.
Your tips, how to motivate them not to join the corporate culture. And if they have to join the corporate culture, let it be an M&A or acqui-hire of their startup.
Yeah, if this is something that I think people should look at, another option. Of course, corporate is also okay, but if you want to have the freedom to do all sorts of things, if you have a vision and you want to make it happen, so try to look at the craft of doing that, and look at customer development, lean startup. These are I think so far the best ways to make that idea into a business, startup into something scalable. So, and if you are located in Manila and Cebu, so I'll show this again, swnext.co, coming this summer. So I think that's really it. If you're a technical guy, I think it would help a lot if you understand customers and how to build something that people actually want. That's something very valuable, if you're an engineer, an IT guy, whatever.
And one of the things you will teach the people at SW Next is it is easier than they think.
Yeah, it's because I studied engineering, so you look at the numbers, you look at computations, but when you start doing it, man, it's like, it's easy to learn. Just start doing it. Just overcome your fear, whatever, and it's great, especially when you start seeing people seeing your vision as well. Wanting what you are envisioning to create. It's a great feeling. It's a great validation that you are actually doing something worthwhile.
Okay, thanks for that. Any last pitches, tips?
Well, I'm going to show the board again.
Otherwise, if you don't, I'm now going to thank the people who make this happen.
Yeah, well, thank you, Frankie.
So first, guys, swnext.co.
Yes, visit the website. Yeah.
I'm sorry we didn't get any boot babes. We decided that guys have to pitch, hold up the signs. That's equality. Thanks for coming, Kahlil.
Thanks for having me, Frankie.
Thanks to the guys at New Media Factory or NMFnetwork.tv for making the show happen. And thanks for Apple Store Beyond the Box for hosting the show here and bringing that rowdy crowd in every week. Thanks, guys. I'm out here again.
All right.